Maybe you might need to put a little bit makeup, like about the farting thing.
Maybe women are actually part of the problem, which is something I've never experienced with an American woman.
Welcome in to another episode of Foreigner Loves
Filipina!
Okay, so today I'm going to get really personal and kind of share my personal experiences of how awesome it is to be married to a traditional provincial Filipina compared to most Western women, most of who have embraced feminism, even those who would never admit to embracing feminism. I believe most of them have. In today's world, the modern feminist woman prioritizes her career, her personal goals, and her day-to-day happiness over the unity and health of her marriage, or even over that of her own children. And they're always looking for the 50-50 relationship, which all that really leads to is a keeping score of who's doing what and who's not doing what, because you're always afraid that you're not getting a 50-50 arrangement. In contrast, the provincial Filipina prioritizes her family with humility and harmony over her own personal needs. She's taught from a very young age to respect elders and understands the need for harmony and peace in a marriage. In the West, marriage is kind of viewed as a contract that can be easily voided when it no longer meets their personal needs. And that's why in today's world, 80% of divorces are initiated by women, and educated women or college-educated women, it's an astonishing 90% of divorces are initiated by women. So it kind of begs the question is, why are Western women so unhappy? And I'm sure most of them would blame their man for all of his frailties and all of his faults. But the facts are, that argument doesn't really hold up when we all know that roughly 50% of male-female relationships end in divorce. But did you know that in male-male marriages, the divorce rate is considerably lower, something like 25%. But when you have two females married to each other, the divorce rate skyrockets north of 70%. So it would seem like the more women that are in your relationship, the worse off it is, the more likely you are to break up. So maybe women aren't as great at relationships as they think, and maybe they're not as good at communicating as they think. Maybe women are actually part of the problem. So let's dive into why being married to a traditional provincial Filipina can be so rewarding. She allows me to lead. And in her culture, it is traditional for the man to be the head of the family and lead it. It's not about control or anything like that. It's about cooperation in the family. And it's a big contrast to what we experience in the West, where if the man was to ever say he's a leader or try to imply he's a leader, it's very often viewed in a very negative fashion, and that is not the case with Filipinas. A recent example of that is we recently were looking to downsize out of our family home that I had raised my boys in into a smaller home. Well, I kind of led that charge of finding a new place and figuring out where to move to, but I didn't do that without her input.
Yeah.
Obviously, her input was important, and to where she wanted to live and the type of house she wanted to live in. In fact, I was finding it difficult to really find what we wanted, but I did find that we wanted just a small one-level home. But I did find some that, where there were two homes under one single roof with a common wall, which I really liked. But she didn't want that, and I thought I could convince her, "Oh, give this a try." And I took her to tour a couple of them, and she made it clear she didn't want that. And even though it was okay with me, I didn't just say, "All right, well, we're gonna buy this anyhow." Her input was valuable, and in the end, we found really what ended up being the perfect house for us.
I really feel okay that Daryl is like the leader in our relationship, because that's where I grow up. In my family, my dad is the leader in our family. Because my dad take care of the business thing, like the hard things, like the difficult things. And then my mom just took care of like the house. So he's the one that providing our family. He's the one that makes sure that we able to eat 3 times a day, things like that. So I don't care if Daryl is the leader of our relationship, because I feel like mine should be because they have the strength to do it.
She's just naturally happy and never complains. And and it really is refreshing. And of course, I think that's true of Filipinos in general. I think, you know, Filipinos are certainly known for how happy and lighthearted they are. And certainly with Melanie, that's the case. And it really is nice that when they're base level, they're just happy. It's not like my job to make Melanie happy, and because she's already happy. And it just makes every day more enjoyable. And unfortunately, I have been in relationship with Western women, and I really think this is where kind of the Western culture and feminism has kind of built this base. Instead of base happiness, it's base discontentment. Like they're always unhappy, no matter how good things are, no matter how many blessings are in their life. They just focus on what isn't right and what they don't like. And of course, whose fault is it that everything's not perfect? It's always the husband's fault that something's not right. And so it just breeds an atmosphere that is very toxic and very difficult. And honestly, it's just exhausting when you have to constantly be trying to make the other person happy. It's a whole lot better life, I can promise you, when her natural disposition is to be happy.
Yeah, it's just not about me. I think it's all, I can generalize all Filipino or Filipinas are like generally happy because we are born as a happy person.
Yeah.
And we just want to like, you know, live a simple life and we're happy about it. Because we came from a poor status, and then, you know, we're still, even if it's a difficult life, we still tend to smile. We still tend to like be contented for what we have.
Yeah. So the third thing I would say is falling into traditional roles of kind of what we do around the house. When Melanie first arrived here in America, obviously we had a lot of things going on and getting her settled and getting her to meet people, and we had paperwork to do. You know, there was a lot going on. And I bet you we were 6 months married before I realized that we had just very naturally fallen into the roles of what needs to get done around the house. I naturally took care of what the chores on the outside of the yard. If something broke, I was the one that fixed it. You know, I took out the trash, you know, things like that I think are pretty traditional male roles. And then she did what are traditionally female roles.
The inside, you know, household chores like cooking, do the laundry and everything like that. Yeah.
And I remember when it first hit me that we never even discussed this. It really was so refreshing to me because I've been in relationships where it is this constant battle that household chores are viewed as something real negative, and that, oh, I got to make sure that he's doing the equal amount, or, you know, and it just becomes this constant battle back and forth where it should be fairly easy and fairly obvious. I mean, she's not going to go out and fix the car or if we get a flat tire, or she needs a new battery or new windshield wipers. Obviously, those are things I take care of on her car. And even though she does most of the internal things, sometimes I cook. I'll say, hey, babe, do you want me to cook tonight?
Yeah,
and I'll cook for
He's good in helping me, though. And then I really appreciate Daryl. Sometimes, like, he helped me. I mean, I didn't, like, tell him that, babe, you need to do it. I mean, I'm glad if you're going to do it. I mean, I'm not going to push him to do it, or, like, you know, force him to do it.
Unfortunately, I've been in a relationship where, first of all, they complain that you don't do enough. Okay, no matter how much you do, it's never enough. But then if you try to go help and maybe do the dishes or do the laundry, well, then it's viewed negatively because it's like, oh, well, he must be doing that because he thinks I'm not doing a good enough job. So it's really a lose-lose. It's like, if you don't help with her responsibilities, it's, oh, see how selfish she is. He doesn't do enough. And then if you do help, it's viewed negatively. And, you know, it's just refreshing with us. These things are just never, I mean, not only were they never a conflict, they never even had to be discussed. They just happen naturally.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is natural beauty. She has a natural beauty. She has no makeup on right now, I don't believe. Do you? Do you have any makeup on?
I have some powder on.
Some powder? But she generally doesn't wear makeup, or very little makeup. And it is nice as her natural beauty, her natural radiance. You know, if we're going to go somewhere, you know, it's not an hour to get ready. In 10, 15 minutes, she's ready to go. And I really do love her natural beauty. And to me, that just makes things a little bit easier and better.
Yeah, if you're beautiful, you don't need to like put the makeup on, you know. Well, if you're ugly, then maybe you might need to put a lot of makeup.
A little more.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I'm beautiful, but I just don't like makeup I grow up with not used to makeup, things like that.
So even though the stereotype of Filipinas is that they're very jealous, that has not been my experience, both with Melanie, and I did date a Filipina that was here in America before, and I didn't find either of them to be excessively jealous. Obviously, there's normal jealousy if I was doing something inappropriate. If I was texting someone else,
Yeah.
she'd get jealous.
Yeah. If
But-
he talks to someone else that I can see them talking like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not
But-
okay.
But to me, it's very refreshing, and I really appreciate it that it's not this obsessive jealousy where if we could be watching a movie together and there's a pretty actress and I can admit she's a pretty actress and she might even say to me, oh, isn't she beautiful? Because I've been in relationships in the past where I could never even admit there was another beautiful woman in the world. And, it's just a very difficult way to live. And I've really appreciated about Melanie. And maybe that is unique to her because everything I see on all her vlogs is how jealous Filipinos are, but that hasn't been my experience.
not.
And maybe it's because of what I'm comparing it to and what I've had in past relationships where the jealousy wasn't a normal, proper jealousy. If someone's doing something inappropriate, where it's excessive. Those type of relationships are exhausting. And at least in my experience, I haven't found conventional Filipinos to be like that. For one, I think Melanie has a lot of self-confidence. And then I hope I show her respect.
I really trust Daryl 100%. Even when we're in a long distance relationship, he doesn't give me a reason to be jealous with. And then even if I'm here that, we're 24/7 together, I don't see him texting another woman. And then if I ask him to babe, can I borrow your phone? He's just like, okay, here. There's no hiding. There's no oh, no, because I'm gonna do something with my phone. No, he just let me use it. And then when, his friend, we have a female friends, he can talk to them, but then it's not I'm jealous.
The being openness to the phone, I think probably adds a lot of trust. I've told her, she has all my passwords. She can view anything she wants. And if she wants to see my phone, sometimes she'll do it jokingly. Let me look at your phone. I'm like, here you go. You can look at anything you want. And I do think that probably helps. Honesty and no manipulation. What I have found with Melanie is that if she's upset about something, she just tells me straightforward that she's upset in a kind way. I don't feel like she's ever trying to manipulate me or try to make me feel guilty over things. And unfortunately, I've been in relationships in the past where there was a lot of manipulation, where you could never take anything that was said or done on face value. You always knew there was some alternative motive or some way to manipulate me to do something or not do something, or to try to get a reaction from me. And, that was back when I learned all the therapy terms of gaslighting and projecting and love bombing. And I learned what all those things were. But I've been in relationships where there was just a lot of manipulation that I didn't even realize was happening until afterwards, and I became more aware of what was going on. And that's something I've really appreciated with Melanie, is that she's very honest, first of all. I've never known Melanie to lie about anything. And like I say, she's not trying to manipulate me to get something that she wants.
Yeah, I feel like honesty is really important, main important also in our relationship or in the relationship. Because when I grow up, in my family, we don't want lies. My dad and my mom, if you lie to them, they're gonna get you, So I grow up with just honesty, pure honesty. I don't want to hide some things. I don't want to things because I feel like even if you lie, they're still gonna know about it. So you better
when you grow up in a small little barangay like you grew up in, it's gonna be pretty hard to hide much of anything.
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah.
The welcoming of the family. Her family was very, very welcoming of me. Even the first time I came, obviously I wasn't sure how I would be accepted as a foreigner in an area where there weren't many foreigners. Obviously I was significantly older than her. I wasn't sure how that would be viewed. But I was very warmly accepted into her entire family by her mother and her father, who don't speak English, but somehow we managed to communicate. And then by her brothers and sisters, and then the sister-in-laws and the kids. I felt very, very welcome, and there was no drama. that it could have been easy for there to be drama given the long distance relationship and given the age difference and the race difference and everything else. There really was none of that. It was just, all right, you're part of our family now.
Yeah, I feel like it's just the Filipino characteristic because we, as a Filipinos, we're known as a hospitable people.
Very agreeable.
Yeah, so I think most of the people there in Philippines, they're like welcoming about foreigners or whoever is, you know, coming in our country. So in my family, they've always been nice to the people, not only for the foreigners, but to the local people. Because, you know, we own business. So like we have customers, and then my mom and dad are good at that. So I think that also helped my mom and dad to like welcome Daryl with kindness and, you know, things like that. So
they're very frugal and very, very wise with money. You know, most Filipinos, particularly provincial Filipinas that live out in the country in the mountains, they generally grow up without a lot of things, and so they have to learn how to stretch every dollar or stretch every peso. And that's something I really appreciate because, and I've mentioned this in other videos, but I kind of a minimalist. To me, experiences are way more important than things, and I really try to enjoy the simple life. And that's something that Melanie and I had in common, is we both just kind of like the simple life. But the fact that she's so good with money and is frugal and is very she's always trying to find a bargain. She goes to the thrift stores, and she, I don't know if she ever pays full price for much of anything. And the other thing that I've noticed about her, and I think this is true of most provincial Filipinas, is when she started working, she wanted to contribute to our household expenses, which is something I've never experienced with an American woman, where she was like, I want to pay the electric bill, I want to pay the water, and she immediately said, I want to help pay the bill. And then of course she wanted to help her family. I've never seen her really care about buying things for herself. It's always been about helping the family, our immediate family, or helping her family. And that's something that's very refreshing.
my dad always teach us that you need to buy things that is important. And plus also what Daryl said, that I love to help my family. I love to help, you know, Daryl's paying the bills. It's just like because I want to pay him back for, you know, he's been good to me and he took me here in America, and it's a great things, you know, things like that. So I just need to be like forever grateful for Dollar for being good to me. And also same at my family, they took care of me when I was still a kid and pay everything, my clothing, my food until I get to college. So I just want to like pay, it's like a payback time for me.
There's no power struggle. There's no tug of war between Melanie and I, because she learned from living in the province. If you live in a small town, little mountain village like she grew up in, that the importance of the family unit is built through unity, not through conflict. As where with my experience with most Western women, even simple day-to-day decisions become a power struggle of who's going to win and who's going to get the way they want, and it just becomes exhausting.
Yeah, because I learned that, you know, with my mom and dad, they have the unity. They don't like do whatever my dad wants. They don't do whatever my mom wants. They have a unity. And even like, you know, and me and all my siblings, like they considered us too, like our feelings and everything like that. So for me and Daryl, it's important for us, our relationship to work, to have like a unity in the relationship. That's really important.
Yeah. So the next attribute is something we covered in another video, so I won't go into it too much, but her willingness to travel light is really a great blessing, because we all have had experience with American women that you got one suitcase that has nothing but shoes in it. Not with her. And to me, that's a big deal, because it makes traveling more fun and a lot easier to do.
Yeah, I really agree with that. Like taking so much stuff when you travel, it's just a lot of hassle.
Filipinos are patient, because if you ever stand in a line in the Philippines, you better be patient. And patience is certainly not a strength of mine, although I'm much better in my older age than I was when I was younger. But she's very patient, and particularly that was really shown to me as our relationship was developing. Melanie never pressured me to, oh, you know, we were long distance relationships. She never pressured me that like, oh, you got to call a certain time or, you know, and then she never was asking like, hey, when are you coming to the Philippines? You need to get here. And then when I got there, it wasn't, oh, well, we need to post pictures of together to prove that we're together. And then as far as like getting engaged, she never ever once ever even hinted at wanting to get engaged or never hinted about wanting to come to America. She allowed me to get comfortable with all those things. She allowed me to take the pace of I really was the one that advanced the relationship all along through all those steps. And I really appreciated it. And I've told her, I don't know if, I said, I don't know, babe, if you did that intentionally or if it's just your natural personality. I said, but if you had ever pushed me at any point to advance the relationship, I would have recoiled because of my past histories in relationships that were like that didn't work out well. But in this case, she was patient enough to let me advance the relationship, and that really made a big difference.
Yeah, I think it's my personality. I don't want to push or like pressure people close to me or like to be in my life. I just want to take it slow. Plus, with Daryl, I just don't feel that, you know, I'm ready to like get married with my age. I was 21 when he met me.
We were 21 when we met.
Yeah, I was 21 when he met me. And I just don't want to be like, because sometimes I heard a lot of American and Filipina couple, like when they met, they get married already. I just don't want to feel that way. But then since Daryl like do it, like, you know, really want to do it, so I just like, okay, I love this person. I really want to be with him, so I'm just gonna do whatever, like our relationship.
You guys, I could have got away with not marrying her. Around Melanie, I'm allowed to be myself. And by that, I mean, like bodily functions. Like if we're laying on the couch together and I got to fart, I can fart. And it's not made into some big ordeal. It's an argument. Unfortunately, I've been in relationships where I was expected to walk into the other room in order to fart. And it's like, you know how tiring that gets? If you're laying in bed, you got to get up and go to the bathroom every time. And it is something small, but I have really appreciated it where it's not blown into this major ordeal every time you have gas or you got to burp or you got to sneeze. It's just nice to be able to live your life with the person that's closest to you and understands you the most without everything being drama.
I think like about the farting thing. So I grew up in a family like they will fart in front of you. Like especially my aunt. Like, you know, we sit next to each other and then later on she will just fart and then it's just not a big deal for us. I think because I'm get used to it, so that's why when Gabriel farted, I just don't care about it.
She doesn't even react.
No, I react sometimes.
Well, sometimes it's really bad.
But if not, it's not really. I don't care about it.
It's not a big deal.
It's not a big deal.
So the next thing I would say is no keeping score. And what I mean by that is with Melanie, and I think with Filipinos in general, you're not keeping tabs on who's done what. And it kind of comes back to the point I made earlier about in America and with feminists, they want a 50-50 relationship. Well, when you have a 50-50 relationship, you naturally end up keeping tabs and score of who's done what. And my experience has been with American women is they seem to have this automated calculator going on in their head as to, you know, who did the most chores or who was the last one that did something wrong, who was the last one that took the kids to soccer practice. It's like this constant keeping score of who's more right and who's more wrong or who's done more of the chores versus the other person. And it just breeds it breeds resentment because you're going to naturally, if you're keeping score, you're always going to think what you did and how you behaved is more important, and you're going to always find fault in your husband or your wife. And so I've really appreciated that about Melanie is I don't feel we have that in our relationship at all, where we're keeping tabs on, you know, how much she did or how much I did or who was wrong this time and who was right that, who said sorry first last time, you know, all those type of things. That, you know, type of behavior gets exhausting.
Yeah, I really don't like that kind of personality. We call it like counting things, like how much, you know, you did and how much I did. I really don't like it. I keep telling that to Daryl that don't want in our relationship like counting things, because I just can't deal with that kind of person.
Yeah. So another thing is letting go of the past and not holding on to past grudges. What I found with Melanie is she does not hold on to past grudges at all. Luckily, Melanie and I argue very, very little. But one thing I really do love is that once we settle something, we have a disagreement or a misunderstanding about something and we talk about it and settle it, it's done. It doesn't come up in an argument that we have 2 weeks down the road or a year down the road. It's not brought up, well, remember when you did this? And unfortunately, I've been in relationships where literally things that happened many years ago were brought up, things that I didn't remember. I don't even know if that's true or not true because it was so long ago. And I really appreciate that about Melanie, is that once we settle something, it's over and it's not brought up again. Like an old argument can't become a new weapon in a new argument. That's done, and we can talk about whatever the new disagreement is, but we're not bringing up the past.
Yeah, so I believe in the saying past is past. You know, if it's past, don't talk about it, because if you're just gonna bring it back again, it will just keep on like, you know, get more weight and weight and weight. You know, it feels like you're having the baggage and things like that. It's just not okay. So you just focus on the present and the future. If you already fix it, then okay, then that's fixed, that's done. Just leave it behind and then move on.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah, my auntie farted a lot in front of
your
me.
aunt?
Yeah, my aunt. And she,
Pretty close.
I make money by myself. I make money.
She's a teacher. She's a teacher. She makes tons of money.
Make money by myself.
All
Okay.
right, natural beauty.
Okay. I just let him do it, but it's hard. It's hard.
All right. You feel we're good?
Yeah, I think we're good. I'm done with that.